Good afternoon. This is case number IT0259I, the prosecutor versus Darko Mrđa.
Thank you, and may we have the appearances. First of all, Mr. Kumjan for the office of the prosecutor.
Thank you, Your Honor. Nicholas Kumjan, assisted by Gina Butler for the office of the prosecutor.
Thank you, and for the defense, please.
Your Honor, Tom Moran for the defense for purposes of this hearing only.
Thank you. Mr. Moran, did you receive the necessary documents in preparation of this initial appearance?
Yes, Your Honor.
Were you able to discuss the issue with your client?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. At this point, let me turn to Mr. Mrđa, who is appearing today on the basis of the indictment of April 16, 2002. He was arrested the 13th of June. The legal basis was an arrest warrant dated 26 April 2002. Mr. Mrđa was brought to The Hague and is since Friday in the United Nations Detention Unit in Scheveningen. Mr. Mrđa, would you please stand up? I should like to ask you first of all several questions. These first questions are only for the purposes of the identification, having nothing to do with the case as such. Would you please state your full name, including all first names and nicknames, to the record?
Your Honor, my name is Mrđa Darko.
Darko Mrđa.
And what about?
Donc, ceux-ci sont vos prénoms et noms. Avez-vous des surnoms, monsieur?
They call me Dado, it's easier.
C'est
Thank you. And
Pelle Dado, c'est plus simple.
okay. And your father's and mother's name, please.
Your Honor, my father's name is Milenko Mrđa, my mother's name is Desa Mrđa.
And what is the date and place of your birth?
Your Honor, the 28th of June, 1967, I was born in Zagreb.
What was your profession or occupation before you came here?
I finished metal school training, for a metal worker.
It's easier for you to sit down, so please sit down and give the answers in whilst you're sitting. And
Thank you, Your Honor.
your place of last residence, please.
Prijedor. Do you want my exact address? Vojvode Stjepe Stepanovića Street, the number is 84, Prijedor.
Thank you. And finally, are you married and do you have children?
Your Honor, I am married and have 2 children. I have a son of 7 months and a daughter of 4 years.
Thank you, Mr. Mrđa. The proceedings today are your initial appearance before this tribunal. It seems to be a formality only, but it is a very important point in time, setting to a certain extent the course for the entire procedure. The underlying reasons for this procedure is the following. The prosecution has asked the trial chamber to confirm an indictment against you on a prima facie basis. At the same time, there was a request for an arrest warrant forming the basis for your deprivation of liberty. Normally, the other party, in this case you, Mr. Mrđa, would have the right to be informed and heard before a decision is taken. It is in the nature of the aforementioned decisions that it was not possible to hear you beforehand. This will be cured now. You will have the possibility to contest both the indictment and the deprivation of liberty. For a better understanding of what's going on, let me give you the following information first of all before reading the indictment. Mr. Mrđa, it is your right to remain silent. No inference to your disadvantage can be drawn if you remain totally silent. The only inference that can be drawn can be found in Rule 62 of our Rules of Procedure and Evidence, where you can read that if the accused fails to enter a plea in the initial appearance, the judge shall enter a plea of non-guilty on the accused's behalf. But I have to warn you at the same time that everything you may say in the courtroom may be used even against you in evidence. But it is only fair to tell you also the other side of the same coin. It is the general rule in all courtrooms on this globe that any kind of cooperation will be or would be for your advantage. In case it will not come to a sentencing stage, it will be in your interest to speed up the proceedings. In case, and I emphasize, only in case it would come to a sentencing stage, such kind of cooperation will always be held in your favor. And it's now for you to discuss this issue in depth with your defense counsel, balancing all these interests. Mr. Mrđa, did you understand this admonition?
Vlastni sude,
Your Honor, I have understood very well.
Thank you. Let's now hear the charges of the indictment of April 16 without the attachment, please.
The prosecutor of the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, pursuant to her authority under Article 18 of the Statute of the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, charges Darko Mrđa with crimes against humanity and violations of the laws or customs of war as set forth below. The accused, Darko Mrđa, nicknamed Dado, son of Milenko, was born on 28 June 1967 in Zagreb, Croatia. He grew up in Tukovi, in the municipality of Prijedor in Bosnia and Herzegovina, and had worked at the nearby mine in Omarska. In 1992, during the conflict in Bosnia and Herzegovina, he was a member of a special police unit known as an intervention squad, serving under the Bosnian Serb authorities in Prijedor. General allegations. On 21st of August 1992, an armed conflict was taking place in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The crimes charged in this indictment were part of a widespread and systematic attack on the civilian population, principally Muslim and Croat, of Prijedor municipality. Darko Mrđa is individually criminally responsible pursuant to Article 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal for the crimes referred to in Article 3 and 5 of the Statute of the Tribunal, as alleged in this indictment, which he planned, instigated, ordered, committed, or in whose planning, preparation, or execution he otherwise aided and abetted. Darko Mrđa, on 21st of August 1992, was required to abide by the laws and customs governing the conduct of armed conflicts, including the Geneva Conventions of 1949 and the additional protocols thereto. Statement of the facts. In the spring of 1992, armed conflict broke out in northwestern Bosnia, including the municipalities of Prijedor and Skender Vakuf. Armed forces aligned with the Serbian Democratic Party, the SDS, who sought to join that territory to the Yugoslavia or to keep it in an independent Serbian state, Republika Srpska, attacked non-Serb civilian populations and battled forces that supported the government in Sarajevo. As part of their efforts to sever territory from Bosnia and Herzegovina, Bosnian Serb forces under the leadership of the SDS carried out widespread and systematic attacks on the civilian population of this region. Non-Serb civilians were detained in various facilities, including the Omarska, Keraterm, and Ternopolje camps in Prijedor municipality. On 21st of August 1992, a group of non-Serb prisoners detained in the Ternopolje camp were told that they would be exchanged and transported to Travnik, a city then under the control of forces loyal to the government of Bosnia and Herzegovina. Buses arrived at the camp that morning, and many prisoners boarded the buses. That same morning, many hundreds or perhaps more than 1,000 civilian men, women, and children gathered in the village of Tukovi, also in Prijedor municipality. They had also been told that a convoy would be organized that day to Travnik. Darko Mrđa was present in Tukovi when the civilians were loaded onto the convoy and was observed to give orders to other police officers present. The two groups of vehicles from Tukovi and Ternopolje joined into one convoy at the town of Kozarac and proceeded in the direction of Travnik. Police or soldiers, including Darko Mrđa, accompanied the convoy throughout the journey. After passing the town of Skender Vakuf, the convoy drove over Vlašić mountain toward the front line. At one point along the mountain road, the convoy stopped in a wooded area. Darko Mrđa was present along with several other men in uniforms. He ordered and participated in the separation of a group of military-aged non-Serb men. The remainder of the convoy, consisting largely of women, children, and elderly, continued on to Travnik. Darko Mrđa and a group of police from his intervention squad ordered these non-Serb men, who had been separated, to enter two buses. There were far more men than seats, and the prisoners were packed into all available space on the buses. After driving a short distance, the buses stopped at a location called Korycanske Stijene, where there is a sheer rock face on one side of the road and a steep cliff on the other. Prisoners were ordered to leave the bus with their heads down and to kneel at the edge of the cliff. Darko Mrđa said, "Here is where we do the exchange, the living for the living and the dead." The police began firing their guns at the men. Several jumped or were pushed over the cliff before they were shot and survived the fall. Prisoners from the other bus were then brought off the bus in smaller groups and shot at the edge of the cliff. Witnesses estimate more than 200 men were killed by the shots or the fall, although the exact number that died is unknown. Annex A lists 228 names that were reported to be those of men last seen on this convoy. 12 men are known to have survived the shooting and the fall. Darko Mrđa was in command of the police unit, planned, organized, aided and abetted and ordered the massacre, and he himself shot at least one prisoner. Charges. On 21st of August 1992, on a road over Vlašić mountain in the municipality of Skender Vakuf, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Darko Mrđa, acting in concert with others who shared his intent, planned, instigated, ordered, committed, or otherwise aided and abetted the planning, preparation, or execution of the killing of over 200 men on a convoy originating from Ternopolje and Tukovi and heading for Travnik. 12 men among those that the accused and his accomplices intended to kill fell or jumped down a cliff and survived the massacre. By the above described conduct, Darko Mrđa committed count 1, extermination, a crime against humanity, punishable under Article 5b and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal, and count 2, murder, a violation of the laws or customs of war as recognized by Article 3.1a of the Geneva Convention of 1949, punishable under Articles 3 and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Count 3. Inhuman acts, attempted murder, a crime against humanity, punishable under Articles 5.1 and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal. Dated this 16th day of April 2002.
As mentioned in the indictment itself, attached to the indictment we find an Annex A, not to be read out here, including the names of 228 persons missing from 21 August 1992 convoy over Vlasic Mountain. Mr. Mrđa, did you understand this indictment?
Razumio sam, časni sude.
I have understood it, Your Honor, yes.
I have to inform you that under Rule 62 of our Rules on Procedure and Evidence, within 30 days of this initial appearance, you will be called up upon to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty on each count, but that, should you so request, you may immediately enter a plea of guilty or not guilty on one or more counts. Did you have the opportunity to discuss the charges of the indictment with your defense counsel?
Pričao sam danas u toku dana.
Yes, I discussed it in the course of the day today, Your Honor.
Mr. Mrđa, are you ready to enter a plea to the charges today? Are you able to tell us whether you plead guilty or not guilty to each of the counts, or would you prefer to do so within 30 days?
Časni sude, želim.
Your Honor, I would prefer to do so straight away.
Then I have to ask you, what is your plea with respect to count 1, extermination, a crime against humanity punishable under Article 5b and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal?
Časni sude,
Your Honor, not guilty.
Count 2, murder, a violation of the laws or customs of war as recognized by Article 3.1a of the Geneva Convention of 1949, punishable under Articles 3 and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal.
Časni sude.
Your Honor, not guilty.
And finally, count 3, inhumane acts, attempted murder, a crime against humanity punishable under Articles 5I and 7.1 of the Statute of the Tribunal.
Nisam kriv.
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Do you want to make any additional comments on the indictment?
Ne, časni sude.
No, Your Honor.
You may sit down, please, Madame Registrar. We have noted that Mr. Mrđa has entered a plea of non-guilty to all the counts of the indictment. We may now turn to the question of deprivation of liberty. Today I have to decide whether or not there will be ongoing deprivation of your liberty. Of course, it's your right to contest the question of your arrest. Do you want to raise any objections today, or as it is custom in the tribunal, first to file a motion on behalf of this issue?
Your Honor, can we reserve and file a motion for provisional release at a later date.
Thank you. Therefore, then I have today to order that the detention has to continue until further order, and we expect your contributions. Is it necessary that anybody is informed on your deprivation of liberty, for example, your spouse or relative, especially to inform where you can be reached, the coordinate here in Scheveningen?
Časni sude,
Your Honor, thank you. I have already contacted my family.
In this context, the second question is, do you want the tribunal to inform your consulate or embassy on your deprivation of liberty?
časni sude,
Your Honor, if possible, I should like them to be informed, yes.
So please tell me what is the consulate you want to be, that you should be informed?
konzulat Bosne i Hercegovine,
The Consulate of Bosnia-Herzegovina.
State of Bosnia-Herzegovina, I understand correctly. Thank you. You may be seated again. First of all,
Thank you, Your Honor.
may I first of all then turn to the prosecution. Any comments from the side of the Office of the Prosecutor?
Honor, my only remaining concern today is the appointment of defense counsel, who it is that I should deliver the supporting materials to within 30 days. And I also plan to file a motion, we can file it today, just a general protective measures motion, a standard motion in all cases that nothing be disclosed outside of defense, the accused and defense counsel that could possibly endanger any witness or victim.
Thank you.
Your Honor, my client has been in contact with a lawyer, I believe in Banja Luka. I have his telephone number. He will probably be at least contacted to be the permanent counsel. I will also confer with the OLAD staff immediately after this hearing about the matter of permanent counsel.
But my understanding is that for the period of transition, you will be always available as the responsible person.
Your Honor, as I understand it, the assignment was for a few days, a limited number of days, and I would prefer not to accept service of the supporting materials if someone will be assigned in the next few days. I'd rather not have them.
Right, I understand, but just in case it's necessary to regulate the one or other question, you will be available until a new defense counsel is arriving.
Yes, Your
Right.
Honor.
Thank you for this.
Or perhaps just for the record, we should, Your Honor, may consider inquiring of the accused if he has retained a lawyer or has the funds to do so.
I will turn immediately to this last question. Mr. Mrđa, we already mentioned the detention unit once again. The question is whether or not you do you want to raise anything regarding the conditions of your detention and the conditions of your health?
časni sude,
Your Honor, I have no criticisms to make with respect to detention or anything else that I wish to say. Everything is proper and correct. And I am exceptionally happy with the conditions of detention. I have nothing to say.
Thank you. And the final question, as you may have understood from the Office of the Prosecutor, do you have already a defense counsel which will represent your interests that you can tell the tribunal?
gospodine časni sude,
Your Honor, I have contacted Mr. Krstan Simic. However, He has some political reasons for which he was not able to call me back, but in the space of a day or two, I shall tell the lawyer who my defense counsel will be.
Thank you. It's my understanding that both the OTP and the trial chamber 2 will be informed immediately on the ongoing developments. Any other further statements?
Just to save any time being wasted, I don't know if the accused is indicating he has funds to actually hire a counsel or if he's going to request the appointment. I think OLADs may be interested in knowing that so they can start working on an appointment if that's what's necessary.
Your Honor, I've conferred with him, and for purposes of appointment of counsel, he is indigent, and he will claim indigency.
Thank you for this clarification. I think the proceedings can go on this basis, and the trial chamber expects new motions from both sides as soon as possible. I can conclude this hearing. This hearing stands adjourned. Thank you all.
All rise, veuillez vous lever.